So what if I told you that the real secret to being a rock star at work isn't hidden in some high-level business seminar, but in a dusty old textbook? It turns out the most successful people out there are basically just using a playbook they perfected back in school. We're going to break down how those study habits you thought you left behind are actually career-defining superpowers in disguise.
All right, to kick things off, let's start with a real-world mystery. It's a story about a professional who's become so valuable, so essential, that his clients literally can't afford to let him go. And you know what? It all boils down to one simple habit. So here's the big question, right? How in the world do you become so valuable that clients not only bring you back year after year, but they do it even when your price keeps going up? What's the secret sauce for that kind of loyalty? And look, this isn't just some theory. I have a friend who's a freelancer, and for 3 years straight, this huge corporate client has hired him for a massive project. And get this, every single year, he raises his rates. And every single year, they sign on the dotted line without even blinking. I mean, that's the kind of job security we all dream of.
So of course, I had to ask him, "Dude, what is your secret?" And his answer, it was so simple, it was brilliant. It all comes down to a single question he asks every single client before he writes a single line of code or designs a single thing. He just asks, "What is the ultimate goal you want to achieve with this project?"
That one question totally changes the game. See, instead of just diving in and starting to work, he first makes them define the real finish line. Is the goal just to look good for the board? Is it to get more sales leads? Is it to make the internal team's life easier? Once he knows the true destination, he can work backward and find the absolute smartest way to get there. He stops being just a guy they hired and becomes the person who solves their actual problem.
Okay, but here's the kicker. This whole professional secret weapon thing, it isn't a secret at all. It's a classic move that every top student has been using for ages to absolutely crush their exams. They're just applying it to a textbook instead of a client project.
Think about it. How do you normally read a textbook? If you're like most people, you just open to chapter 1 and start grinding through it, right? But the A+ students, they do something completely different. Before they even read the first paragraph, they're all over that table of contents, the chapter summaries, the outlines. Why? Because they know they have to understand the main structure, the main trunk of the tree, before they get lost in all the little leafy detail.
I love this analogy. It's like furnishing a new apartment. You wouldn't just go out, buy a giant sofa, and pray it fits through the door, would you? No! You'd look at the floor plan first. You'd get the layout of the rooms. Top students do exactly the same thing with information. They build the empty apartment in their head first, they get the structure down, and then they start bringing in the furniture, the facts, the figures, and all the details.
Okay, so you've built the mental framework. The apartment is ready. Now, how do you fill it effectively? Well, that brings us to the art of note-taking. And this is a skill we all think we know, but man, there is a massive difference between just writing stuff down and actually creating a powerful learning tool.
Check this out. There was this fascinating experiment where researchers split students into 2 groups. One group took notes on a laptop, typing away. The other used good old-fashioned pen and paper. When they tested them later, the students who wrote by hand scored way higher on both memory and understanding the concepts. So what's going on here?
It all comes down to this really cool psychological idea called desirable difficulty. It sounds kind of weird, but it basically means this. The easier it is to get information into your brain, the harder it is to get it back out later. Typing is fast, it's frictionless. You can pretty much transcribe a whole lecture without really thinking about what's being said. But handwriting? It's slow, it forces your brain to process, to summarize, and to pick out keywords in real time. And that little bit of a struggle, that's what makes the learning actually stick.
Now, if you want to really level up, the Cornell method is a total game changer. You just divide your page into a few sections. You've got your title at the top. On the right, you jot down your notes during the lecture, just keywords and big ideas. Then later, on the left, you turn those notes into questions. It's like building your own little practice test as you go. But the most powerful part is the summary at the bottom. You have to force yourself to explain the entire page in your own words in just a couple of sentences, like you were telling a friend what they missed.
All right, so you've built the framework and you've taken some killer notes. The info is on the page, but how do we get it off the page and locked into our brains for good? That, my friends, is the other half of the battle. And this is the trap that almost everybody falls into. We think studying just means rereading our notes over and over and over. This creates something really sneaky called the familiarity illusion.
The words on the page start to look familiar, so your brain goes, oh yeah, I got this. But you don't. Not really. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean you actually understand it. Passive rereading is probably one of the worst ways to learn.
The key is to switch from passive review to active recall. You have to force your brain to actually pull the information out of storage, not just glance at it. Use flashcard apps that make you retrieve the answer. Or try this. Try to teach a concept to someone who knows nothing about it. You will instantly find the gaps in your own knowledge. You could even role-play a debate on the topic. Anything that forces you to engage with the material is pure gold.
And this is where it all comes full circle. Finding the main idea, summarizing, active recall. These aren't just tricks to pass an exam. They are the exact skills that make people, like our freelancer friend, so incredibly valuable in the professional world.
I mean, just look at the direct pipeline here. The skill of finding the main trunk of a chapter, that's the exact same muscle you use for project scoping and setting goals at work. That little 30-second Cornell summary, that's your blueprint for writing a short, sweet project update that your boss will actually read and love. And teaching a concept to a friend, that's the best practice you can get for clear, effective client communication.
You know, in the corporate world, so many people think that using a ton of complicated jargon makes them sound smart. We need to leverage our core competencies to actionize the paradigm shift. It sounds impressive, maybe, but it's completely useless if your client has no idea what you're talking about. The real superpower is taking a complex idea and explaining it so simply that anyone can get it. That shows true mastery.
This quote from Einstein just nails it, doesn't it? It doesn't matter if you're tackling a physics problem, a textbook, or a huge business challenge. The fastest way to the solution isn't to rush for an answer, it's to spend most of your time really deeply understanding the problem itself. Define the question first.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. In your own work, in your personal life, what's one problem or project that could benefit from you spending a little more time just defining it more clearly? Take a step back and ask, what's the real goal here? Because finding that answer might just be your own hidden superpower.